Whew. Wonderhussey here, getting ready to head out on another expedition. And this time, I'm going to the great state of Arizona. Arizona is one of my favorite states, mostly because I love the Sonoran Desert. Okay, if you're not from the desert, well, you probably think, what's the big deal? A desert is a desert. Mojave Desert, Sonoran Desert. Well, there's a difference. The Mojave Desert is beautiful, and it'll always have a special place in my heart. Love the smell of the creosote after it rains. Love the Joshua trees. But the Sonoran Desert, has those amazing saguaro cactus and ocotillos and javelinas. It's just beautiful, and I haven't been to Arizona in a while, so I'm really looking forward to the trip. So I'm sitting here looking at my Google map that I keep with pins on all of the interesting places that I've either read about or somebody told me about that I thought would be interesting to go, like, Dick Shooter, Idaho. I don't know. I just thought it had a funny name. Or Forever, Maryland, which is this giant statue of Marilyn Monroe in Palm Springs that supposedly is very controversial because I guess if you walk underneath it and look up her dress, well, you can imagine. Anyway, I've got places pinned on my map around the entire United States. You can see that I have pins in just about every state, although now that I'm looking at it, it looks like I don't have anything pinned in Virginia, and I'm sure there's plenty of interesting stuff to do in Virginia. In fact, I know there is because I've been to Virginia. I went to Jamestown, the Jamestown Colony site, and Colonial Williamsburg once, and they were fascinating. I just, for whatever reason, I haven't pinned anything in them on my map, but I have pins in just about every other state, even, oh look, even Minnesota. Let's see what I have pinned in Minnesota. Just out of curiosity. Pipestone. I don't know why I have pipestone pinned. I think maybe somebody told me it's someplace where they make pipes to smoke weed. Anyway, none of that is of any import to me right now because I'm not going to Minnesota. I'm not even going to New Mexico. I'm going to Arizona. I'm not going to say exactly where in Arizona. It'll be a surprise, but, well, let's just say that I'm going to try to get up as early as I can tomorrow and get a nice early start on the road because I do have a number of hours to go before I arrive at my destination. And before I even leave the house, well, I had a ton of editing to do. Okay, I didn't want to have to work while I was out on the road because it's, I can edit when I'm sitting in the back of my car, but it's not very easy. And yeah, I can go to public libraries and use their internet, but, I'm only going on this trip for I think about 7 days, so I really didn't want to have to spend any of that time working. So I thought, okay, let me just go ahead and edit all the stuff I'm going to need to put out for the next week or so before I leave the house. And fortunately, it's been real nasty and windy here in Death Valley the last 3 days. We had like 60-mile-an-hour gusts the other day, and so it wasn't very pleasant to be going outside in. And I know I shouldn't even be complaining about the wind because of these terrible wildfires that are going on in California. So if you're watching this in California and you are affected by the fires, I'm really sorry for you, and I hope everything turns out okay. So a little bit of wind here in Death Valley, I guess that ain't no big deal at all. Anyway, because I didn't want to be working while I'm on the road, I spent a ton of time editing. Here's a sneak peek for you into my editing process. This is a video I just finished working on for next Wednesday about this amazing ultra remote. And when I say ultra remote, I mean ultra remote. Abandoned ghost town, or, well, it was really more of a mining camp, way up in the mountains in Death Valley that also happened to be near this really spectacular overlook that's supposed to be like a Native American energy circle or some kind of energy zone. Anyway, it was an amazing trip. I just did that the other day. I banged it out in one day. That's a nice thing about living in Death Valley. Aside from not having to worry about wildfires, well, I can jet into Death Valley for little day trips like this and then come back home and sleep in my own bed. So I did this trip the other day, and let me see, I'll show you. This is what it looks like, by the way, if you're interested in when I edit a video. This is the footage that I shot. And then this down here is the dialogue, the audio track, and then the music that I put in over top of it. It's very complicated, and I probably make it more complicated than it needs to be, but what can I say? I'm a perfectionist. So anyway, I spent the last couple days working on this video, and then before that I was working on the video I did about my friend Scott and my hike up to the top of Eagle Mountain. I don't know if you guys caught that one, but basically there's this mountain in the area. It's not that high. It's only 3,800 feet, only 3,800 feet, which isn't that high for this part of the country, but it's this weird random formation that sticks out of the middle of nowhere, and I thought, oh, I want to climb that. And then Scott said he wanted to do it with me, and well, if you watch the video, you know, he's a really good sport. He put up with my, well, I'll just go ahead and say it, my relentless ball busting of him. Good-naturedly, and he had the idea for me to make that video like a reality show episode, like The Amazing Race, or one of those cheesy reality shows where they splice in little clips of footage of them interviewing the contestants where they're all talking smack about each other. I thought that was a really good idea, and it actually did work out great in the video. I think it added quite a bit to it because, you know, I show us hiking and, you know, bickering and going to the top, and then I splice in these little sections of him going, Sarah is crazy, and me going, Scott is a loser. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. It was a great idea on Scott's part to do it that way, but it was very time consuming. And so, oh man, I feel like I've been sitting in my office editing for the last month. And so I'm doubly excited to be setting out on the road tomorrow to go have some outdoor adventures and get some fresh air and exercise. You know, I'm tired of staring at this dang laptop. Anyway, needless to say, I didn't have time to shoot anything funny or interesting for my Friday blah blah blah. So that means it's going to be reruns again. But I do have something a little bit different. Actually, I happened to be looking through some stuff on my laptop. Here I go, opening my laptop again. And I found some random old little snippets of videos that I never used in any of my productions because they were just like little goofy random slice of life type things that, well, one of them, this one here, I don't know, I figured I'd just share them in this video because they're goofy and short and they're never going to make it into anything else. This one I must have shot back in like 2018. You can see looks like I'm at a trade show. Actually, I'll just go ahead and play the clip, and I guess I can kind of narrate while we're watching. Okay, so here we go. Let's work in a trade show. But wait a minute. What's following me? Oh no, it's a giant rabbit. Ah! What was in that drink last night? Help! Okay, it's not very long. It's a pretty stupid video, but what was going on there was, that was my sister. That's my sister in that costume. Right there. Miffy. It's a Dutch, I think it's Dutch, children's book character. If you're from Europe or anywhere other than the United States, you probably know who Miffy is, but here in the US, she never caught on for whatever reason. Anyway, long story short, this trade show that I used to work every year, the Licensing Expo. It's a trade show where any brand that can be licensed to sell crap is on display. So like, you know, Mickey Mouse, Snoopy, you know, anything that you can put on like kids' notebooks or tennis shoes or whatever, make the kid, you know, yell at their parents, Mommy, I want these tennis shoes. Well, you'll find it at this expo. And so they would hire a bunch of actors, models, losers to play these different costume characters. Now, when I worked for this company, they were really cool, actually, really cool company. We were very explicitly instructed not to share any photos of ourselves partially clothed in the outfits, because trust me, you can take some really funny pictures when you're putting these crazy outfits on. I mean, I did a lot of characters for that company. I played Felix the cat. I played Elmo. I played Daniel Tiger from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I played the Minions from Despicable Me. I was a Minion a bunch of times. Gosh, I can't even think of all the different characters I played, but you can imagine that when you're putting the costumes on and you just have like your head sticking out, well, it makes for some pretty funny photos. And especially at this trade show where there was like a bunch of different characters all working, we had this big changing room off to the side. And so, you know, Elmo would be getting dressed next to Snoopy, would be getting dressed next to the Power Rangers. And so you could pretty easily put like Elmo's head on Snoopy's body, and it would be like that game that you played when you were a kid where you drew a different head, body, and legs. I don't know if you guys ever played that game. There's a name for that game. I can't remember it. Anyway, they didn't want you to post pictures like that because these characters are very sacred to the brand. And if a kid saw, you know, Miffy without her head on, oh my God, then all of a sudden she would know Miffy wasn't real. And well, the next thing you know, she wouldn't be going, Mommy, buy me those Miffy shoes anymore. Woo-wee, there's big bucks in this licensing stuff. So you really had to be careful and not post any photos. But since I'm not showing any photos like that, and since I don't work for them anymore, I think it's okay to talk about this. Anyway, that was my sister in the Miffy costume. I hooked her up with the gig because I guess by that time she had quit her corporate job. My sister used to have a really high-paying corporate job. But she decided she was going to quit that and just, you know, live off her savings and have adventures. About 10 years ago now. I think she's just passed her 10-year anniversary. Oh, I should congratulate her on that. Anyway, she had free time, and I guess she wanted to make some extra cash, so I hooked her up with this licensing expo. And she played a bunch of different characters, too. But Miffy, she did Miffy a lot, because it was a relatively comfortable costume to wear. Some of these costumes were, like, really heavy foam and fur, like that Elmo costume, I feel like was really uncomfortable. The most uncomfortable one was Daniel Tiger. That thing, like the head was really heavy. But Miffy is just inflatable. So you put this big furry bag on and then you zip up the thing and then there's a little fan in it that blows you up so you look like a big fat bunny. And so it's relatively cool in there because you have a fan going and it's lightweight. You don't have to wear makeup, you don't have to smile, you don't have to talk to anybody, you just walk around like this. In fact, the best character I ever played was the Minion from Despicable Me. I was one of the Minions because it was a lightweight foam costume. But the best part about it was the hands on the Minions are really small. And so inside the costume, there were these little cranks that you could hold to like make the little hands on the outside wave. But you really didn't have to do that. Most of the time, if you just like go like this up and down, it's a giant Minion bobbing up and down. Nobody cares if its hands are waving or not. So I could be inside the costume just reading long form articles on my phone or watching YouTube videos or whatever, and just as long as I was going like this, nobody knew any different. So I actually played the Minion a bunch of times. This was mostly before I started YouTubing, but as you can see from this little clip here, you know, I did do both at the same time for a brief period. So anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting video to share because it brought back some fun memories for me. I mean, my sister, actually, the best gig she ever did as a mascot was she ended up playing the poo emoji. You know how there's that poop emoji? Well, I think there was an emoji movie that came out a few years ago, and so she actually worked at the premiere, the Hollywood premiere, because she was living in LA, and this mascot company had, you know, they would go do gigs wherever. So she was on the red carpet at this movie as the poo emoji, and I can't remember what all celebrities she said she met. Well, I mean, you don't really get to meet. Like, when I was Felix the cat, I took a picture with Lassie, the real, actual, live Lassie, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, the head of DreamWorks, I think. And I was pretty stoked about that, but unfortunately, I was in this Felix the cat costume, so, you know, I couldn't prove it was me. Anyway, here's another random video I found while I was looking through my computer. This one, well, it's only a minute long. You watch it and you'll figure out what's going on. Hey guys, I'm at the courthouse on my way to jury duty. Man, hopefully they don't pick me for this trial because I'm supposed to go to Texas in 2 days to go to Big Bend, check out that place. And I already have a plane ticket, so I'm hoping the judge goes easy on me and lets me off the hook. But you never know. These judges can go either way. Gotta go up to the 3rd floor for this. It's a very nice Justice Center. It's our tax dollars at work. There was a quote from Henry David Thoreau in the lobby, which was kind of cool. Anyways, I better stop talking to myself. Or wait, maybe if I keep talking to myself, I won't get picked for the jury. Like if I just walk right into the courtroom with this camera rolling, I think that might be a pretty quick way to get disqualified. Okay, so I was on my way to jury duty. I really didn't want to get picked because, as I said, I was supposed to go to Texas the next day or the day after the next. And, well, if you've been following my channel for some time now, you might remember that I did go to Big Bend. So, obviously, I got off jury duty. And it wasn't because of any, like, crazy tactics like talking to myself. In fact, I remember I used to be a big Facebooker around this time, and I posted a Facebook post going, hey, do you think they'll let me off jury duty if I dress like this? And I had like a Muslim veil on and a MAGA hat and a gay pride flag and a dildo and a satanic Bible, thinking like, surely they'll never pick me for that. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go into court with all that stuff because they would know what I was up to, and then they'd probably make me work like the longest trial ever. I think I was just honest with the judge, and I told her I'm self-employed, and if I don't work, I don't make money, so, you know, please excuse me. And she did, and I ended up going to Big Bend, and I had an absolutely wonderful time. Oh my gosh, if you watch that video I made about Big Bend hot springs. Actually, interestingly enough, the friend that I went on that trip with is the same friend I'm going to visit in Arizona tomorrow. How about that? Isn't that funny how some things just go full circle? Life is one big magical circle. Anyway, I don't know. I just thought I could share those two videos so that there was at least something new and something semi-interesting for you guys to watch this Friday while I'm, well, making my way down to Arizona. Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass, and I'm homebound. Anyway, since I'm going to Arizona tomorrow, I guess for my recommended rerun this week, I'll pick something that I did in Arizona. I've already made a number of videos in Arizona, and you can see here I've got a bunch of playlists that I've made. Fun fact, if you don't know, I have playlists you can watch that'll recommend a bunch of my videos to you in a row. So, you know, I did a playlist about all the videos I've ever done in Texas. I've done 8 videos in Texas, believe it or not. And then, let's see, Oklahoma, I did 2 videos in Oklahoma. New Mexico, 17 videos in New Mexico. Arkansas, I've done 4. But Arizona, I've done 25 videos in Arizona. Golly, I've been to Arizona a bunch. Okay, let's see. Quartzite, Oatman. Ooh, the Apache Death Cave. That one's pretty good. Ooh, the Wigwam Motel. I stayed in one of those wigwam-shaped motel rooms once. I'm gonna go ahead and recommend... Oh, you know what I'm gonna go ahead and recommend? Havasu Falls. Okay, if you've never been to Havasu Falls, you've almost certainly seen photos of it online. It's this majestic series of majestic sort of turquoise blue waterfalls in this astoundingly beautiful red rock canyon. It's a really popular and very difficult hike. You have to hike down, it's by the Grand Canyon. You have to hike way down into this canyon, and you have to get a permit to do so because it's on a Native American reservation, and they only issue so many permits. And well, I made the video a while ago. I think I made it in 2018, so what is that, 6 years ago? But, so the production values probably aren't that great, but I did a pretty good job on it, and it was absolutely beautiful, and I had a fun time. And the video actually did get a lot of views because, you know, it's a hot topic, Havasu Falls. A lot of people want to go to Havasu Falls. How many views did that get? Oh, man, it's got like 670,000 views. Okay, well, it doesn't really need any more love, but I'm going to go ahead and recommend it anyway. And not just for the beauty of the falls themselves. It was what happened at the end of the video that made the whole trip amazing. I mean, yes, the waterfalls were beautiful, and yes, the backpacking trip was fun, except for the friend that we went with was a really bad snorer. I mean, oh my God, he snored so loud. I hardly slept a wink the first night of the trip. And then the second night of the trip, down at the bottom, we were able to camp right by the creek, so the sound of the creek kind of drowned out his snoring. But then we hiked back out, and then the third night, we had to spend the night at the trailhead, and I go, oh my God, I'm not going to sleep again, because it was so quiet up top, at the top of the trailhead, you could just hear him. I mean, the poor guy, he had sleep apnea. I don't know if he still has this issue. I think he got a CPAP. But, I mean, when I say he was a loud snorer, it was the loudest snoring I've ever heard. So, when we got back up to the top, I said, listen, buddy, we are not sleeping at the trailhead again like we did on the way down. You know, because we got there, late afternoon and we wanted to set out first thing in the morning so we could make it down to the thing and blah, blah, blah. So we just kind of camped right there by our cars and there wasn't a lot of room. We just had to kind of squeeze in. That's what everybody does at that trailhead. But on the way back, I said, listen, let's drive down the road a ways and find like some place to pull off the side of the road where there's more space. So that way I can set my tent up far enough away from you to not hear your snoring. So he was good natured about it. He agreed. He was riding his Harley and me and both my sisters were there. We all were in my car. And so we got in the car, he got on his bike and we rode down the highway. We found kind of like a wide turnout. And I don't even think you were legally supposed to camp there, but we pulled over. My sisters pitched their tents. I guess I was sleeping in a tent too. I don't know why I didn't sleep in my car, but whatever. We all pitched our tents and he pitched his tent way down the road and we spent a very peaceful night. We didn't hear him snoring. But then in the morning, I was woken up by this weird sound of like shuffling, scuffling hoof beats. And so I unzipped my tent and looked out and it was a herd of wild horses. Okay, they weren't that wild because they were obviously used to people. They were more like feral horses, I guess. And if you've ever been to Havasu Falls or Havasupai Reservation, you know this. Well, there's a lot of talk about how what condition the horses are in down there. Well, these horses seemed fine. They were just kind of wandering along the road in the early morning and they came through our camp and, we all got out and went, oh my God, horses, whoa! Especially my sister. She's a horse nut from way back. Like when we were little girls, she was that little girl that always wanted a pony, my sister that I live with. Anyway, so we all went and Google over the horses, but there was a baby horse with the herd. They had this little tiny, almost newborn foal with them. And so, of course, we went gaga over that. And they were all so friendly. The little baby horse were petting the baby. And then the dangest thing happened. I shouldn't be telling you this. You should watch the video to see it. The herd of horses disappeared. They all just wandered off, but they left the baby with us. Okay, I'm not going to say what happened next, but all I'm going to say is this herd of feral horses abandoned a baby foal with me, my two sisters, and my snoring Harley Davidson riding friend. And, well, we didn't know what to do because we didn't want to abandon this little baby horse. Was so sweet. I mean, we all took pictures with it. We took video. Well, I'm not going to say any more. If you want to find out what happens, you're going to have to watch the video, even though, what did I say? Something like 668,772 people have already watched it. You probably already know what happened, but if you haven't seen that one yet, well, that's going to be my recommendation for you this week. And if that is something you've already seen or not up your alley, well, guess what? YouTube will also recommend something that they think you will like based on your search history. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up now because oh my gosh, I still have to pack a bunch more stuff and get a good night's sleep and set out early on the road for Arizona. So stay tuned from some new videos coming from there shortly.